Hi, Mike and Stephanie. I remember being in veterinary school, and after 3 years of intense basic sciences and clinical work, there was an elective that we had. It lasted a weekend, and it was called bedside manner. And in a period of probably 6 to 8 hours, a psychologist from the main campus came to the vet school and in that small period of time, attempted to teach us every soft skill that we needed to know to be an effective veterinarian. I would say maybe 20 people out of my class of 100 took the course, and that was it. Then fast forward to our clinical rotation senior year, and we're walking in and talking to clients, and I felt as though, in the 90s, that we really just were not prepared. In fact, I even hate the word soft skills because these are such vital skills to being an effective veterinarian. So ever since then, I've wondered, are vet schools getting it better? Are they getting it right?
Welcome to the Vets Unleashed,
where we gather animal professionals and animal enthusiasts to discuss the most pressing, silly, and interesting topics in the animal kingdom. I'm Dr. Scott.
And I'm Dr. Mike. Today, we have probably our favorite returning
Not
guest.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe she's probably for you, but Stephanie, I don't hesitate. You're my favorite.
Our vet student, Stephanie on. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be back. I was thinking about the podcast like a couple months ago, and then you guys reached out. We're like, okay, we're going to start recording. I was like, yeah, I'm so excited. So it's nice to be back.
Well,
we're banking a few episodes. We haven't actually formally started our season yet, but it's going to be starting soon. So by the time you hear this, I guess we'll probably have to edit this out because it will have already started.
Yeah. We couldn't start without catching up with you, Stephanie.
No.
So tell everybody where you are and where you are in your journey right now. Just remind everybody.
Oh, man. Okay, guys. So I'm in my third year of vet school. It's crazy to think I'm already in my third year. I have done 2 surgeries. So we had our practice surgery. So I did a dog neuter and a cat spay. I have one more surgery left in a couple weeks. So I'm doing my big dog spay. I'm still in classes, so I'm learning more clinically relevant things. I have lots of tests. I don't think I've been so exhausted in my entire vet school career, which is hard. I'm even shocked that I'm saying that. Let's see what else. I don't know. I'm actually having a really good time in vet school. I think I've learned what work-life balance is finally, and it's going really well. I'm tired, but I'm enjoying it for once. So I'm happy that I'm where I am right now.
Well, last time we talked to you, you were in the depths of that second year, I believe, and it was rough. And we were commiserating about how bad that was. And I remember too, my third year when we started to do surgeries and, clinical applications of all that stuff, it really just blossomed for me. And you're right, it was tiring, it was exhausting, but I definitely loved it.
And I don't remember if I said it before. I think that second year, probably the worst year of my 54 years on this planet, honestly. The second year of vet school, if for some reason something hadn't worked out, like if I had failed a class or couldn't, I would not have come back. That's where I was at. And then it was when I got to your point, I was actually starting. Do you feel like you see the end?
I think I'm scared to see the end at this point. I definitely see the end, but it's like now it's like I don't know, like a slow escalator, and I'm like slowly approaching it. And I'm getting more and more terrified because it's like I have to think about, well, first off, I have to go into clinics, and then I have to like learn to be a doctor and apply everything I've known and learned throughout my years of school. And then they kind of just like, you're like, okay, you graduate, go get a job, go do an internship, be yourself, be a doctor. And then like I'm still fighting like imposter syndrome and all of that stuff every day. But I'm excited, but it's like a slow, scary escalator ride.
Ascent.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that analogy because, ultimately you're going to end up at the top,
Yeah. No, it's
and
like
not a
control
roller
of your career.
coaster where you dive off the end.
Exactly.
It's an
not like
escalator.
a fast descent.
yeah.
No. It's just you just keep, and you get to the top, and you're like, oh look, there's another escalator. Like being in an airport, you're like just endless escalators going up.
It looks like, though, I commented when I saw you this morning, you look very rested and happy today. So tell our listeners, what are you doing right at this moment? You're not in your, I'm judging, although I know your vet school apartment is nice and everything. It looks like you're in a slightly nicer and larger home.
Yeah, so I'm at my parents' home right now. I've taken the winter break to just be at home, and my dog was recovering from a little hospital visit, and so I've been just resting with him. And then I have my parents' like white fluffy dog at home as well. But it's been really nice. I could read like books that I'm interested in and go on walks without feeling like I have to do something. I've been sleeping.
Right.
Okay, granted, I wake up at like 5:30 to feed my dog because he gets really hungry, like my parents' white dog.
Yeah.
But I would go back to bed and sleep till like 10, 11. Oh my gosh, two naps, basically. It was wonderful.
Nice.
Catching up on all that.
Yeah. Exactly.
One thing, unless you choose an internship, I remember going into my first practice and even working a significant amount, I had far more free time than I ever did in vet school. It was, just like you said, to have time to just read for pleasure. I didn't do that through vet school. And so
and to your analogy, going back to the escalator thing, and like, when does it stop going? It never really stops. You just start to enjoy the ride more, I think.
I like that. Okay. I can start to, and I'm starting to enjoy it now. So I think it's definitely getting better. Just, I'm like waiting. I think when school ends, it's going to be so much better because I won't have to keep studying, I'll be like, go to work, come home, maybe like take a nap or something, but I won't have this like ongoing feeling that I have to study for a test. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Right. You won't have to be putting in, 8 hours of studying. It'll be a little bit of studying here and there.
Well, I mean, even sorry, but I don't study 8 hours. It's closer to like maybe 1 to 2 every other day. And I'm doing just fine. Like I'm actually learning a lot better because I think I'm giving my brain a break and then like coming back to the material, like I give myself a break enough that like my brain resets and then I just absorb things better. So I wouldn't say 8 hours, but 1 to 2.
Okay, good.
I was probably very similar, an hour or two every other night, and I worked over the weekends just like you, so I would take the weekends off, and I found the biggest thing for me was going to class. Back in my day, we didn't have recorded lectures, so if you missed the lecture, you missed it. All you had to catch up with were, other people's notes. So there are some definite advantages to vet school in this day and age, I think.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I had tried to attend most lectures. I did like have a medical like issue with me, and so it was harder to get to class sometimes, but I'm very grateful for recordings because I usually rely on those to rewatch and like relearn things because I learn better when someone is talking to me about it or explaining it to me. So I listened to the lecture recordings probably like 2 to 3 times before like I have to take an exam. So,
well, Mike, we're so excited to have Stephanie on that we forgot to introduce our episode cocktail, which is I chose this because Mike and I are both in our ski gear and headed to Park City for a long weekend of skiing. So we have the Sapphire Alpine cocktail, which is a combination of what I had left in my cabinet. Gin, blue curacao, and peach schnapps. So very odd combination, but
So,
cheers, everyone.
Cheers. I'm going to taste it.
I like the color.
That is sweet. Wow. Wow, that's strong and sweet, just like me. So, a little confession here. I didn't have blue curacao, so I used another orange liqueur And then what I did have was blue sparkle stuff to put in it. Like
Edible
the
glitter?
edible glitter that I use for my D&D drinks when I'm making those for the kids to make them look like potions. So though a little cheating there. I don't know if you can see the glitter. Can you see it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I
a
like
little
the
bit.
color.
Yeah,
It's this is it's like a
definitely sweet.
it's like a sweet tart and it's mm, I don't know that I'll finish that one. Wow.
No.
Okay. Little water chaser on that
Not
one.
good thing we don't have sponsors that actually have these drinks.
I know. I'd have to pretend like let me try again and pretend like I really like it. Let's see. And we're sponsored by, Blue Curacao and
Blue Curacao. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
that is
that is so good.
You sold it. You sold it for
Sold
me.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Acting.
And with that,
Yeah.
let's go to break, and when we come
Yep.
back, we'll talk more with third-year veterinary student Stephanie Hahn.
Be right back. Hi, this is Dr. Mike, the Bowtie Vet Guy. Thanks for tuning in to the Vets Unleashed. If you want to find out more about us or our guests, or to leave an amazing review, head on over to thevetsunleashed.com or find us on Instagram or Facebook at The Vets Unleashed. There you'll find information on the podcast, how to be a guest, and our lecture series and speaking availability. Now let's get back to the show.
And we're back with Stephanie Hahn. Stephanie, you heard my story at the beginning of this episode about being in veterinary school and having very little training as far as dealing with clients. And this season, we're focused on the client experience in veterinary medicine. So I'm curious to know, when did they start talking about those, quote unquote soft skills, and what have they done to prepare you for all the work-life balance stuff and dealing with clients and all of those mountains that we have to ride the escalators over?
Yeah, so they kind of drilled it into us our first year. I wouldn't say like drilled it in, but like just started teaching like client communication, bedside manners, things like that. First year, I think it was spring quarter, and it was actually like a whole simulation where like the first time we ever did it, we were put into groups, like little tiny groups, and one of your classmates would be the client, and then you would be the doctor, and you would have to simulate the whole thing, like knock on the door and be like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Hahn. It's so nice to meet you. Like, can I sit down?" And then we had, I think there's an article on it. It's called Wise Coach. It's like a model of like how you should interact with, like how the interaction should go, and we have to follow that. But it's been progressively getting harder. So as you progress through veterinary school, they get harder. So the first time is just like you, a moderator, so like a small animal practitioner, large animal practitioner, and then your classmates. And then they model it, like you simulate it with them. And then as you go on.
So just role playing with your peers initially.
Yeah, role playing. And then that's always interesting because your classmate kind of like determines the role. Like they could be like, "Oh, I have a mother with 7 children, and I live in this area and I have 8 dogs," and you're just like, "Wow, like okay, like very cool."
And I don't have any money.
Yeah.
And then as the years go on, it becomes like a real actor. Like they bring in actors to become the client, so that way we don't know what to expect, and that maybe it puts us in that uncomfortable zone, because sometimes when it's our classmates, we're kind of like, oh, like we know who they are and it's okay, but then the conversations are different because it starts becoming more of like a we had a euthanasia one where we had to go through the process of euthanasia, or at least bring it up in the conversation, like even though that's not what the client had like picked in the end, it was still like you had to bring it up as an option. And then we just finished our client simulation labs this past fall, and the last one was like a not nice client. So they could be angry, skeptical, a runaway client, or just like very emotional. And so we had to kind of, we didn't know what we were getting. So as soon as we walked in, we had to be like, "Hi, like how are you doing? Like, it's hard though, right? Because like you're not supposed to be all smiley when it's such a big like topic to talk about, or like if the topic is not the happiest. And like that was my issue, is like I would walk in, I'm like, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? Like, I'm sorry your dog is dying, but I'm
Yeah.
here. Like, it was really hard for me to not smile.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just tone down like my my facial expressions, because I think like when I'm smiling, like maybe it'll make them feel more like comfortable around me. But what I didn't realize is sometimes that like it can be a little off-putting, especially when their pet is like in emergency, and then like I'm there just being like happy and cheering, be like, hello, like what's going on? Like, how's your day?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which client did you have?
yeah.
oh, I had a runaway client, and I think I did a pretty good job. She was talking a lot, so it was hard to get like my voice in there. But when she had a break, I would kind of like reel her in. I'm like, hold on, we have to like go through what we're gonna do, what happened already. Like, I need to set a structure.
Mhm.
And so I think I ended up doing pretty well. But there were like some actors that, like, my classmates got, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, wow, I don't know if, like, how I would handle that, because I don't even
Right.
think they could get a word in. Like, mine had a break. She was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm done talking."
Yeah, and I think sometimes you'll get, like, people that will be, like, over the top on the acting and, like, not having an actual interaction, and in the real world, you do have those run-on people that just keep going and going and going, and I actually find those people exhausting. That's really hard for me because I love to have that conversation. And so, uh, you know, but in real life, that people breathe, so they take a breath, and you can usually, stop them and reel it back in. And the same with, I think, you're smiling and that kind of happiness, but a lot of times, when you go in, if it's gonna be if it's a bad situation or not. I mean, even just you get the signalment, it's a, 18-year-old dog having trouble walking. Sometimes it'll say quality of life discussion, sometimes it won't, but going in there that this might not be a happy thing,
Yeah.
even from just the one sentence. And so you can learn to sort of temper things that, you go in and you assess the situation right away.
I think I've learned a lot, like, after that time I heard the comment, like, "Oh, you kinda seemed, like, too cheery walking in."
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, like, I don't wanna seem too
Right.
cheery, like, I know it's a serious situation." And thankfully, like, I work ER on the weekends, and so I've kinda had the weekends to practice when I talk to clients and, like, gain, like, a really brief history. It's been a good time to, like, practice, like, okay, it says they're here for vomiting and diarrhea, so I don't have to be like, I mean, it's still vomiting and diarrhea, but I don't have to be as, like, serious and, like, like, scary or intimidating. But, like, when it's something like, a down dog, or something where it's like client doesn't know what's happening, like, I've learned to, like, oh my gosh, hi. I don't do that
Yeah.
anymore. Like, I'm very
Yeah.
like, oh,
Right.
hi, like, I'm Stephanie. It's nice to meet you. Like, tell me what happened. And so
Yeah.
it's definitely better. But I will say that one time they were like, yeah, you walked in a little bit happy. And I was like, oh, oops.
Yeah.
That is a mistake that I made with real clients. I didn't get the opportunity to role play in school. And so, uh, yeah, I think I learned for all those clients in the real world how to do it. And I think I find, as a smiler, you probably notice the same thing, that um, there's still things you can have. There's like a happy smile, and then there's like a pleasant, welcoming smile, just a calming, welcoming smile. And so sometimes, even if I knew it was a euthanasia, and the whole family was there or people were attached, just to walk in, I mean, not frowning or acting like it was going to be this horrible thing, but with a gentle smile, and then immediately address the animal and say something like, "Oh, what a handsome guy," or "What a good-looking cat," something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
how wonderful that you had the opportunity to practice.
Yeah, it's been really nice. And I think like the one big takeaway is that like every client is just different. Like, we had a huge conversation about like, can you like put your hand on the client? Like, is touching okay? And like like everyone was like, it just depends on the situation. Like if you're a general practitioner and it's like maybe someone that you've seen quite often, like they were like, I don't think it's a bad thing. But if you're working in emergency and you don't really know them or they feel too tense, like maybe don't touch them. Like don't put a hand on their shoulder or like, things like that. And so I've kind of had to like realize like, I mean, and thankfully I have the weekends to like talk to clients and like work on that. But like had to realize that not everyone is the same and everyone has different opinions on how you should act towards them and what you should do, what you should say. Like I had someone who came in during ER, they were doing a euthanasia, and I did like a small soft smile and they were like making jokes and like trying to make me laugh, and I was like, oh, like this is like different. And then they told me later after everything had happened, they said, oh, like um I'm not trying to be insensitive. It's just like in sad
Yeah.
situations, like I
Yeah.
try to bring out the happiness, and like you smiling and laughing at me like really helped me get through it. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's very interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't expect
Yeah.
that. So it's been quite, it's just
Yeah.
realizing that everyone's different. So
And I think it's great that you're getting a chance to practice these things and see
Mhm.
what works and what doesn't, and actually put in your mind what is actually going on when you're talking to clients, right? So for Scott and I think a lot of it was trial and error, and you didn't get always get feedback to know if you did a good job or not. And we didn't know what some of these techniques were even called. And now being able to put a name to something such as leading or following or matching, all of those techniques, you can actually think about, okay, this might be a good chance to do this, matching what they're doing and then leading them into a more relaxed state or whatever. Um, you stop thinking about it after time, but it's good to have those in your head. Do you find that the more you practice it, the more you start actually thinking about what's happening with your interactions as well?
yeah, so I've just like every time, so my job in ER is like a student technician, is like I have to go triage the patient, but I have to talk to the client obviously and just like double check phone numbers and kind of get like a very brief history. Because we have fourth year students that will then go back and like ask them more detailed questions. But my like goal is to figure out what are they doing here. But I've realized it makes a huge difference because when I first started, I was just like, hi, I need like you're here in ER. Is this Fluffy? Great. Fluffy, what's going on with Fluffy? And it was very like maybe a little shorter and like more direct. But I've noticed that people respond better when I was like, hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm going to be the ER technician helping you today. I see that you're here for blank and blank. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. What's been going on? So, like, I realized that even if I just take a little more time to explain who I am and what's going to happen in the process, it's been a lot better. And not everyone, but a lot of people that I've interacted with have been like, thank you for like slowing me down and like talking to me. And I really appreciate it. And I was like, oh, you're welcome. Like, yay, that makes me so happy. So it's
And I
been
love
good.
hearing an empathetic statement like that. Just to say, I'm sorry you're here today. I'm sorry you have to deal with this.
Yeah.
That opens people up to, this is a safe person to talk about.
Yep.
If I'm a little frustrated, she's going to understand because she sees people in my situation every day.
Yeah.
I love
Scott
that.
Scott and I heard you say that, and I think we both went, "Oh,
Oh,
empathy."
my
I was
heart
like,
broke a little.
yeah, exactly. And and you just mentioned too that your own dog has been going through surgery. So having a little bit of training um, with client relations and client communications, and then being a client after having that, did you notice anything different? What was your experience with that?
Yeah, so Mac has been in the hospital 3 times this past year. Starting in May, he had a prophylactic laparoscopic gastropexy done because he was having bloating episodes. And as a vet student and a very worried dog mom, I was like, oh my gosh, GDV, it's gonna happen. And so I got him into surgery, and I had a fourth year student handling the case, and she was very sweet, very kind. Even though she knew I was a student, she was very professional, and I could kind of see how the things we learned in class were kind of kicking in during fourth year, which was really good to see. And she was very, very nice. And then Mac had, oh my gosh, so many visits. Mac had a TPLO done on his left hind leg because he not broke, but he tore his CCL. And I had another student for that case, and he was wonderful. He was like on top of everything. Granted, like he knows I'm a student, but I feel like I turn into the most anxious dog mom as a client. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, my baby. And then I remember we were doing examination and I started crying. I knew it was something we could fix, but I was like, my dog's getting older, and I just like teared up and was like not having a good time. But he was very comforting. I was like, it's okay. Don't worry, we'll take care of everything. I like had specific instructions for Mac just because he's not the best with other dogs. And he set up the kennel that was like, there's a blanket in front of it, um, at the very end so that he wouldn't have to like hear dogs walking all the time. So it was a really great interaction with both of those. And like even the doctors, everyone I've talked to, like faculty, residents, interns, they're wonderful at it. Like even though they're not trained from Davis, I've noticed that they're very empathetic, which is nice. And I think they're very detailed as well, but they explain it in terms that I could understand because I know I'm a vet student. Yes, great. Sometimes I still don't get things. And they would explain it in terms that didn't make me feel like I was stupid, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm a vet student, like I should know this stuff. But they were very kind and they're like, don't worry, I'll explain it differently. I know it's stressful to like go through this process. Here's what we're gonna do. And it was amazing. Like I can see how the training is paying off.
Would be an interesting thing when you graduate to listen to all of these podcast episodes back to back, because I could tell when we interviewed you before you officially started or after your first week, that exactly sort of the struggles that you ran into, that your personality was such that you were going to be, you were going to be all in every club, and that was going to overwhelm you. My final question to you before we wrap up this episode is, what do you think would be useful, or is there a way that some of this training in how to interact with clients could be better?
I think I would put more emphasis on like how every situation is really different because they want us to follow Wise Coach, which I think is really good for, like a general practice. Like you have more time, like there's not like an emergent situation happening. Um, but I feel like we would really gain more from like maybe it's like the cat has like 20 minutes to live. Like it's on oxygen. You need to make a decision now and you need to have a more serious, tough conversation with the client versus like, hi, I'm Dr. Han. I'm so sorry what's happening. Here's what's going to happen with today's visit. And like, it just seems like sometimes Wise Coach is a little smaller and we don't have all that time to like go through the whole
Yeah,
Wise Coach, if that
sure.
makes sense. And I think like something else that would be really interesting would be like having them attack us as like humans. Like that would be a really interesting simulation. I know it would be hard for a lot of people, but I feel like as a vet, we get yelled at quite a lot and attacked personally, like you're killing my dog, you're doing this, why aren't you saving it? And I feel like having that done and practiced at least or seen once during
So
vet
you can
school.
see what it feels like before it happens for real.
Yeah, and then you can practice how to like respond because I feel like if I've been yelled at before, sadly, and the first time I was ever yelled at, I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I think I froze and was like, okay, I'm gonna leave. But that was as a technician, and as a vet, I can't really do that. So I think practicing like a response to like you are killing my dog would be really beneficial, even though it's hard to go through, but I'd rather do it during school and make a mistake there than say the wrong thing to a real client.
Because sadly, every one of us will go through
Yep.
that many times in our career.
Yeah. And I think people in general will have that happen if they live life. Somebody's going to attack them and when it's not their fault for sure. So having
Yep.
your things that you're going to say or ways you're going to handle that will at least give you a way to start those conversations, even if it
Yeah.
doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me real quick. You keep saying wise coach. A lot of people might not know what that is.
Okay, so WISE Coach is this it says conducting effective client consultations. And so it's an acronym, and it allows you to build a relationship with a client as well as like educate them and respecting the client as an individual. And so the WISE Coach stands for W is welcome the client and patient. So you know your introduction. I is for investigating history. So like what brings you in today? And that really focuses on like open-ended questions. And then the S is summarizing information. So it's like, okay, so I heard this is what happened. I want to make sure this information is correct. And then also go into like, next, I want to go into blank. And then E is explore for more details. So you ask them more about their lifestyle questions, like things that are important to collecting history, but maybe not specific to like vomiting or diarrhea, but just like how they are as an animal as a whole, like their lifestyle. Then you're supposed to perform your exam. So that's not in the acronym, but you perform your physical exam. And then the coach part is convey exam findings and your thoughts. O is outline a plan. So like treatment ideas, diagnostics. A is for ask for feedback, like how are you feeling? Does this sound okay to you? C is clarify expectations. And then H is hold both client and patient interests in mind. So just making sure they understand that, you know, you are working for the same team, you're not trying to make money, things like that. And then ending it on a good note. And then these like this acronym, and if you follow it, obviously if we had all the time in the world, everyone would follow it, but it's supposed to build a really good, positive client relationship.
And I can see where being a younger practitioner, those having, you know, acronyms and having a system or a technique you can go to at first until you develop these habits and it just becomes a normal part of your day could be really valuable.
Yeah, no, it's been helpful in some aspects, but like ER is, you know, different. And like people who want to go into ER, it's that you don't have time for all of that. So
Yeah.
it's a little harder.
Well, I think that I don't want to speak for Scott, but I think we can definitely see that you seem happier, healthier, and are just really coming into your own as a veterinarian. And I'm thrilled to see where you're headed at this point.
Oh,
It's
thank
exciting to
you.
watch. We can't wait
Yeah.
until the next time we catch up.
I know
These sessions with you just fly by.
they do.
I
They
know.
absolutely
I'm
do.
so excited. So my goal at the very end when I graduate is to rewatch every single episode I have been on and see like how I've progressed as a student and as a person, just because I can tell already, like probably the 2 episodes ago, I was like in pain. Like you could hear it in my voice that I was not doing well. So I'm excited to like listen to all of them in order and just be like, wow, I went through all of that and I'm still alive, and I, you know, it was hard, but I'm here and I'm doing great. So yeah.
But we're glad
Excellent.
you are.
Yes.
All
Thank you
right.
again for joining us. I know
Yeah.
so many people are following your journey and journey to Dr. Han. So
And I'm sure we'll check in at least one more time.
Okay. Yeah.
maybe two.
Maybe two.
Yeah. You got to get me once in 4th year at least.
Well, I look forward to that. All right. To Stephanie, doing better and feeling better.
To Stephanie and to being Dr. Han in a year and a half.
Year and a
Oh
half.
my gosh. Slow escalator, guys. Very slow
You're
escalator.
more than halfway there.
There you are. All right.
Do you know what percentage you are
I
to doctor?
think, I didn't do the math, but I'm pretty sure I'm like 68 or something like that, if I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Getting there.
68.
I know.
To 68%. Cheers.
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 Thanks for joining us for drinks and a conversation about veterinary medicine and our beloved animals. The Vets Unleashed podcast is wholly owned by the Vets Unleashed LLC with excellent production by Earweevil Audio. For more information about us, head over to thevetsunleashed.com. And as always, don't take advice from people who've been drinking.